Okay, so we're going to look at some of the tools we went over today in the 3D modeling class and sort of talk about some ways to emphasize and clarify some of this modeling. So the first thing is I'm worried that people are working with mesh that is too dense, because this becomes very difficult to do much with, really. And let me show you why. So I'm going to go to my left view, and I'm going to just go ahead and create an image plane here. And I'll map in a picture. Let's go with this one. Okay. So you put this picture in here, perspective. We can move this. Left view. I'll scale and move this around to get it kind of positioned correctly. So let's say that this is where you're starting with your model, and you get to this point and you get your picture plane lined up, and you're like, okay, well now I got to try to reposition this to line it up with this model shape, right? And so I can hit 4 so I can still see it, and then I can go in here and, like, little bits at a time, start trying to get all of this into the right position. And you can already see, like, what part of the problem is this is just too much, right? Like, I'm going to be moving stuff forever to try to get this shape. Okay, so this becomes an issue, and even if I did get it onto shape, you'll see that I really just got it into shape on one axis. I still got to worry about all of this in this direction too, right? I got to still round that off, and so it's too many points to move. So you're doing yourself a disservice by having it this dense. If you have it so dense already and you have it in a good shape, you're really just needing to simplify it. A couple of options are here. We can select some vertices. This isn't going to simplify it, but it'll help round some stuff off. And go to Mesh, Average Vertices, and you'll see that what that does is it kind of rounds it a little bit. It kind of like averages it all out and smooths it. And so that'll help. Like, that will get you something closer to the shape, but still at this point you still have to grab this stuff and move them one piece at a time. You can use the soft select tool, and I did that by just going to the tools menu, and the soft select tool will allow us to sort of select an influence area, right? That by selecting a piece of it, it will influence it on a fall off, and so we can still maintain this a little bit of the fluidness to it, but it's still just not. This isn't a very convenient or efficient way of working. If you have yours too dense, there's a couple of things you can do. You can manually select edges. Let me turn off this. We can manually select edges, right, and delete them. Now, if I just hit delete on this, you'll see something. You'll see that it left the vertices here, right? And so that means that this is now an 8-sided face. So we don't want to just hit delete on them. What we want to do is we want to hit Control Delete. Okay, and now you'll see that I deleted it without the edges. And if you need to remember that, Control Delete is the shortcut key, but there's also this is it Edit Mesh? I always lose this. Mesh. Here it is. Delete Edge and Vertex. So it's under Edit Mesh. Okay, and so that's going to delete the edge and the vertices associated with that edge. So that's a nice way to manually clean it up, or if you just have it completely too dense and you want to reduce the areas that doesn't need that amount of density, we can also just go to Edit Mesh, Mesh Tools, Mesh, Reduce. And so you're going to see that that's going to give us some options here, and right now it's going to be set to preserve quads, and it's going to reduce it by 50%. And so if I hit reduce, you're going to see it got rid of a bunch of stuff it didn't think it needed. If I hit G to repeat that and just keep reducing it, you'll see that, like, we're really still keeping a lot of the form. Right? It just kind of is going to do its best to keep what it can. So the more you reduce it, eventually it's going to get to this, and it's going to be like, I'm sorry, this is as close as I can get. So let's go ahead and delete that. I'll show you how I personally would have started this model. I would have went to my left view, created a box, right? I would have had it a 1x1 box, right? And then I would have started adjusting these vertices to just sort of line up with stuff. I'm sorry, before I do that, one of the things I probably would have considered doing is going ahead and not making it 1x1 actually. Instead giving it one level of depth here. I'm sorry, maybe it would be width. There we go. And so the reason for that is so we'll have a seam down the middle once we start working with it. So if I go to my left view, I'm just grabbing vertices by dragging here. So I could take it up to here, down to there, down to there. I could do mesh tools, insert an edge loop here, and then go right back to adjusting those vertices. Okay. I would probably extrude this out from behind, and so I'm going to show you kind of what I've been doing from this direction. So if I go to face and I drag select, I'm going to select both the faces on both sides of this, plus the face that is diagonal there, right? I selected all those, right? But then if I hold Control, I can deselect the ones I don't want, right? So now I just have those two faces selected. And so that's a little like selection trick you can try. Edit mesh. I'll just go ahead and extrude this. I'm just going to extrude a single one that far. Select this. I'm going to do the same trick again. G. Extrude that out there. And then I'll just, with these vertices, I'm going to kind of go through here and position this how I want it. Okay. How about okay, so we got that. Okay, so now once we have this shape, I can go in here and start manipulating these edges, right? And now here's the problem: is when I'm doing this, you're seeing that I'm adjusting. I'm having to adjust both sides of that, and that's just going to take up more time. So let's go to the top view, and we're just going to delete one side of this. Okay, I'm going to delete this side. Okay, and so if you look at this in perspective now, we just have this one side, and that will save us a little bit of time. Okay. However, it's not really representative of what the whole form looks like, right, if I just see one side. So I'm going to select it, and we're going to do a special type of duplicating. So if I go to Edit, Duplicate Special, I'm going to choose this options box. I'm going to set this to -1 on the scale. Apparently I've done this again recently. And I'm doing this on X because we're going across the X-axis. You can see the X-axis down here. And so -1 on X, because this goes X, Y, and Z. Right, and I'm not going to make a copy, I'm going to make an instance. So I'll do duplicate special. Apparently I was wrong. Oh, I bet there was another edit. Let's see, duplicate special. The last time I used it, apparently I put 120 in there, and so that just needs to be a 0. Or you can always go edit, reset settings. So go instance, -1, duplicate special. Okay, so this is what I get. Now, you'll notice that one side of this is dark. So that's actually a normals issue, and so if I actually go to like high quality viewport, the reason what's going on is like where it scaled it negatively, like if you look at this, when I scale this negatively, it flips inside out, right? And so that's what's happening, is it thinks that this should be black because it thinks it's the inside of the object, not the outside. There's a trick to fixing that later. We go normals, reverse, but see now since it's an instance, it reversed both of them. So what I'm going to do, just so I can be looking at it, is I'm just going to leave this to a legacy high quality viewport. Okay, and so now anything I edit on this side of the model, any edge I grab and move, right, it's going to do a mirror of it on the other side, and this will allow me to kind of keep a reasonable amount of symmetry in here. And I really only have to edit half the model. Okay, so now if I go to my left view again, I can be using this to kind of work a little bit toward getting the final shape I need. Okay. Actually, I probably don't need to do it as much on this edge. That probably should be kind of flat. Vertex, and I'm going to see what happens when I just hit 3. So we're getting a lot of this rounding off, right? So go back to 1. I'm going to go ahead and start inserting some edge loops to get these correct shapes in here. So Mesh Tool, Insert Edge Loop. If I pop one right there, hit 3 again, now it's a little sharper on the edge there. And I can actually use some of my perspective. What is happening? Object mode. W. Oh, I am an object mode. Okay. So if I right click, I'm going to go to edges here. Why is it not showing you my edge? Maybe I'll do wireframe on. So for some reason my high quality viewport wasn't working, so I'm on legacy viewport just so we can see this stuff again. Okay, that makes much more sense. And so I can use this and just kind of do some slight adjusting to what I would want this to look like. I can go back between 1 and 3 and realize I probably didn't need to scale that one in quite as much, but I can go to left view and do edge select. Yeah, it's not bad. Left view, and I can just kind of use this to kind of line it up and get it in the right angle, correct angle. Right, and now I can go back through here and I can do that sort of editing all across the entire model. Of course, I can continue to do all sorts of inserting of edge loops. Right. The problem with some of this is in most of the cases with inserting edge loops, you insert the edge loop, and then you have to do some work to make that edge loop the right shape that you want, right? And we're getting a better result now, but this is a little extra step. Sometimes it would be nice if it would just insert the edge loop the way you wanted it to look. So we have this insert edge with flow, and so if I click that, you'll see that when I insert this edge loop, it's going to automatically kind of scale it to get the right flow of the mesh. Now some of it might be correct, like this, but some of it might not be. I'm not sure that that's wrong either, though. So I'm going to go back to vertices. I'm just going to move these around, and so we're just going to, while this is a lower resolution, we're going to just make sure that the model is constructed the way we want it to be. Okay, and so deciding when you use the insert with edge flow or not is just kind of, sometimes it's trial and error. Okay, so I'm going to just hit insert another one in here. So if I insert one here, that's completely wrong, right? So I'm just going to turn that off on this one and insert another one there and just work on sort of scaling this in the right way, correct way, right? And now maybe if I insert another one with the edge flow, it might work better now. It does not. That's not bad though. I can handle that. So maybe I turn that one off, put another one in right here just to get an idea of what it is I need. Right, and I'm starting to get the right topology now, right flow to these edges. And now if I were to insert one here with the edge flow, it might do a little bit of a better job. It may not. You never know. Like, you just kind of have to try it out. But in certain situations, it can actually be very handy tool. So moving this around. Okay, so we got that. Let's say I also feel like I need another edge going around here just to get some more roundedness to it. A little bit going here. Of course, I grab this edge and probably push it in. Let's see what happens if I do this one with flow. Not bad. It's not bad. Maybe here. Not good, but not terrible. Okay, so we're just kind of getting this shape now, right? Now, that's the insert the edge loop. Here's the problem. We're going to get to this point here, and everybody's going to have an issue of trying to figure out how they want the topology to work here. Like you can't really manually adjust these vertices to get them to go inward and give you the right shape, right? Like that's close, but again, like we got a lumpy spot there, right? And I can't really tell if that's right or not. So we can do a couple things, and I'm going to show you a couple of methods on how you could maybe try to get that in there. Okay, I'm going to try this the hard way first. Okay, so the hard way is using the modeling toolkit. I'm just going to do the multi-cut, and I'm going to try to create manual edges that go along through here, right? So maybe start there, 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 there. Yeah, let's try that. And so I can also just double click. I just want that one. Vertex. Okay, so we have that edge flowing through there, right? I'm going to go ahead and insert some more, maybe to like right there. Okay. Hit enter, maybe across there. And what I'm trying to do is figure out how to get those things to flow, right? And so they're working, but now it's a bunch of triangles, and that's going to give us a little bit more issues. So what we're going to try to do is take out the triangles and figure out how to make this quads again. Okay, so I think it's those. So again, Control Delete. And so that's all quads. I can grab this vertex and move it by down like this, right? So that's not bad. And so the benefit of having this is now if I just edit these two edges, it will allow me to manipulate that mesh. Sorry, I have no idea who that was calling. Sorry if that busted your eardrums there. So I can now manipulate this mesh, and it's going to deform along the flow that I want, right? But I need a little bit more information in there. So I could always, again, go to Mesh Tool, Insert Edge Loop, and if I do that, like that will work. I'll get a pretty decent result actually. But the problem is this also, and I can use these to kind of continue to sculpt this and get the shape that I want, right? Now the problem with this is I needed those edges there, but I didn't really need them here yet. I don't, and I kind of felt like I had to get those to get that shape, and we don't want that. Like there may be another way that we can get those edges without having to route that all the way out to the top of the model. Okay, and so this is where we start trying to think interestingly. Like there's a lot of problems that we could solve. And you have to be kind of creative about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice that into two triangles. Now the reason for that is because a triangle can become a quad very easy, right? It just needs one more point in it, right? And now that can be a quad. But now this is a five-sided face, and so we can just use this to insert this edge all the way down through there. Okay, so now this is a quad, right? We do the same thing on the other side. And we got some pretty nice edge flow there. Now the reason this is nice, not only is that I can grab this entire edge here, let's really just do these two, and scoot those in, but also if I decide later that I need more edges along this flow, this is now an entire edge loop path, right? This is an entire ring that goes around through here. And so if I go to Edit Mesh, I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Insert Mesh Tools and Insert Edge Loop, you'll see that's going to go all the way around through there, right? And we get some pretty nice options there, especially if we're using the Insert with Flow, right? So it's going to keep that pretty decent, right? So that's a little more of what we need. What is, oh, 3. I don't know why it's subdividing that like that. That's what it really should look like. Okay, so we got that mesh now looking pretty good. That's the easier method, right? The harder method, of course, is a little bit more like this, I would basically just go in here. Let's go back to, let me see how far I can go back. Okay, that'll work. We know like kind of what it is we need to rebuild, right? Let me delete these edges I made in here that weren't necessary. Okay, so this is where we started, right? And so the other way is if I know I need to rebuild all of this here, like I know this needs to be different, what I could do is just go through here and delete all of these faces, right? And then try to come up with a way to bridge across this, right? So I could do from this edge to this edge, a mesh bridge. So you can start seeing that we can just sort of literally build a bridge across this thing. And we're going to end up with some weird flow here at times. Oh, there you go. Right, because we have this triangle now. But again, a triangle is really just one step away from being a quad, right? So I could insert an edge loop here. Right. Let's turn off that insert with flow. So I'm inserting an edge loop, and now we have that in there, and I can now to fix this weird shape here, I can just fill that hole. Right? I can select all this edge, and go to mesh, fill hole. Right? So that's a kind of a little workaround, and now we're actually back at that same topology we were earlier, and that I can just again insert another edge loop, and I would take it out the top or out the bottom, or I could do the multi-cut and cut down through here, quad, quad. Okay. And so we have very similar topology now. This isn't quite as clean because we got this going all the way over to here. And I don't know. We could rework that a little bit. So the thing about this is either way, we're going to end up with some similar topology that we wanted. Oh, there's still one more thing I needed to do. What was that, wasn't it? There we go. And so now quad, hit 3. Okay, so we got all this now. Completely valid way of making this mesh. But let's say you've manipulated it into some shape and you're not completely happy with it. But you're happy with the shape, but you're not happy with the topology. And you're like, I've got it in the right shape, it's just not flowing the way I want. So that's when we're going to try incorporating in something different, which is the quad draw tool. So as I showed you earlier, we can go into the modeling toolkit, quad draw, and actually I need to not have anything selected when I select quad draw. And you can see that it's going to allow me to draw on the grid, and if I just click those 4 points, then it's going to make these 4 points, click 2 more, whatever. But if I hold shift, you can see that it'll allow me to turn that into a face that is a quad, right? Now, I can middle click on any point and move this stuff around. I can actually shift middle click and kind of paint some smoothness to it. Sorry, shift right click and paint some smoothness to it. Or I can hold control and insert another edge loop, right? So it's not hard to generate some mesh with this, but it's a flat plane. It's just a flat plane with some topology on it. And that's less helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that quad draw, but we're going to do it on this object. And so if I select an object and say make it live, basically what I've told Maya to do is to make this my new interactive surface. Instead of the grid, this is my new interactive surface. And so if I created a sphere and I tried moving that around, it would automatically just stick to the surface of this object. See how it kind of does that now? Like, it just kind of rides along the surface of it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the quad draw with that turned on. Okay, and so if I click quad draw, I can go through here and I can start retopologizing this section here so we can get these little grooves cut into it, right? And I'm going to kind of do it along the current, some of the current topography we have here, so it'll be easier for me to cut stuff into it later. I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about there. I'm not going to go that far actually. Do one there, 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 and maybe there and there. Right. And so you can see now that I can just start drawing my topology however I want it to look on there, right? And then if I click this, move it around, to sort of reposition some stuff, right? And then I can continue from there too if I want to just keep adding more in here. You'll see what I'm getting, and you'll see that you know, it's a little bit easier to get the flow that we want with this tool now. So having done that, now what do I do? Like, now I need to wire this back in to Maya, or back into the program maybe. Let's figure out how to, or back into the model. I don't know what I'm talking about. So if I hit this P cube, I'm going to turn that off, and now I just have two meshes, right? I have this mesh, I have my old mesh, right? I'm going to figure out a way to try to sort of piece that in there, right? And luckily there's some coinciding edges, maybe not all of them, but some of them, okay? And so I'm going to insert another edge loop here just to get my idea. And that'll work. Doesn't seem to want to let me. Oop. Object mode, insert edge loop. Right about there. Am I doing this right? Let's try that. That seems right. Okay, so I have these two meshes now, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of delete the parts that I don't need in this one. Okay, so I'm going to delete, like, in fact, I'll hide this other mesh just for a second. Control H. Okay, so I don't really think I need these faces. If I'm not mistaken, those are the ones I need to replace. So I'm going to go back, Object, Shift H. Yeah, that'll work. Want it? I think I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to keep that one and that one, actually. Just so I have it. I can always delete it later if I need to. Shift H. And so now I can just combine these. I did earlier. Mesh combine. And I don't know what happened to my instance. Well, we can always get that back later. But so now we have these meshes here, and we can start sort of getting some ideas on how they need to be moved and where we need to start welding stuff. Right? So I got this target weld. Target weld that to that. That to that. Maybe that. Yeah, this may require an extra edge loop here, but you're getting an idea. Like, we can start welding this back into the pieces that we need. And it all just starts becoming one mesh with the correct topology. Now, this isn't super easy to think through, so you're probably going to have to do a little bit of changing of some stuff. As you'll see here, I got some holes to fill, and I believe actually I need to go ahead and delete that face. Yeah, so there's some stuff to still figure out there. But you get the idea of how we're going to be adjusting this now to get the right topology on it. And so this is one option, and a couple other options that we've talked about too. Now, I want to show you one more thing before we end, which is a lot of people were very interested in Grady's method of using NURBS to generate some basic shapes. And so I'm just going to hide all of this. And so a lot of what he had done was, we create a curve here. I'm just going to show you very basically. And he adjusted this curve to align to the bottom of how this handle piece looked, right? So we can create another curve up here. Right, like that. Maybe scale it in a little bit. Left view, and he put that curve there. I don't know where my first curve went. Perspective. Okay, so let's say that these are the two curves I have, and you're wanting to create some of your topography that will go along this shape, right? Control D. Let's go and get another one up here just in case. Okay, so what he ended up doing, that, right? And using the surfaces tool, he did a loft. Yeah. And so the loft is going to sort of generate some kind of basic topology there. So on top of that, we could duplicate this one again if we really wanted to. Right, and so this is going to kind of redo the loft. We can use these to kind of adjust how we need our model to flow. Once we get that, right, we can go to modify, convert, and convert NURBS to polygons. And there's a lot of options for that that are going to give you slightly different results, right? So this is the polygon version, this is the NURBS version. Now they're all connected, so you can still go back and make changes to the NURBS version, and you can still make changes to those NURBS curves, right? All of that's within the history, right? But once you're done and you're ready for this to just be polygons that you're editing, you just go to Edit, Delete by Type, and History. And so that's another way of generating some topography or topology that you may find useful. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.